I'm Steve Toth with the Ohio National Guard. I'm here today with Brigadier General John C. Harris, Jr., Ohio's Assistant Adjutant General for Army. General, thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Steve.
You were recently promoted to Brigadier General on February 2nd. Can you talk about your feelings that day and what it meant to you?
Sure. I was overwhelmed. The turnout, first of all, for the promotion was far more than I ever expected. But more importantly, it was turnout from, it was my family, it was members of my church, and the turnout from the folks here in the National Guard. It was more than I ever could have expected. My wife and I talked about doing a small ceremony. She said, you really need to take the time to thank the folks who care about you. And quite frankly, she was right.
That's great. You've been Assistant Adjutant General for about a year now, so you've probably had time to get acclimated to the expectations on your time and the pace. Can you describe a typical day or typical work week for you, what that entails?
Yes, sure. I'm not sure there is any such thing as a typical day in this job. Every day literally brings something different. I guess if there's anything typical, I try to get my PT done in the morning before coming to work, but once I get here, it varies. There are ceremonial things that are part of this job. There are the typical leadership things like participating in the Army Board of Directors and that sort of thing, and just trying to stay tied in with what's happening at the national level, so that I can remain strategic in the vision where we're going. Every day is different. Literally, there is nothing typical about a day around here.
How did the Ohio National Guard look like when you first joined, and what are the major changes since that you've noticed?
Probably the greatest change has been that transition from a force that never really expected to go anywhere to now we have a force that every single soldier has either enlisted, re-enlisted, or continued their service as an officer during 10 years of conflict. Our soldiers full well expect to deploy. It's a part of who they are. It's a part of why they joined this organization or stayed with this organization. Back when I joined 31 years ago, the National Guard truly was considered a strategic reserve, and none of us expected that we'd ever deploy. We joked about it, if National Guard deploys, we better turn the lights out, and things are pretty rocky if the National Guard's going to be deployed, and we know that's a different story now.
Is there anything you miss from a previous part of your military career that you're not able to do now that you've moved up into the upper ranks?
Probably, those days, even though we didn't expect to go anywhere, the cohesion in the units was really, really, really strong. And you had your entire platoon, your entire company, your peers from other companies around you. The pyramid gets pretty small. Your peer group gets a little bit smaller here. There's still that sense of camaraderie, but it's just a little bit tougher to stay connected with some of your friends and your comrades because of the pace and the operational tempo. That's probably what I missed the most.
In light of projected troop reductions over the next few years and the Defense Department being mandated to cut more than $500 billion from its budget over the next decade, what do you see as the major challenges for the Ohio National Guard over the next several years?
Probably easiest said is that, I commit every day to our soldiers that we're not going to give up an inch of the ground that we've gained over the past 10 years. The fact that we have worked every day to be an operational force and to be trusted by our active component and our USAR counterparts, by the citizens of this nation, and we're never going to give up an inch of that. So we're going to have to figure out, in this age of constrained budgets, how to deliver the exact same product, how to trim the fat, how to make our processes more efficient, and still be able to deliver the same level of readiness when our nation calls us, because that's what's expected of us. And we will not take a step back from that.
How do you think the Ohio National Guard is going to look in the next 5 to 10 years? What would you say to a soldier or airman who's served since 9/11, been through 10 years of deployment cycles, as to what they should expect moving forward and how they should prepare themselves for what lies ahead?
Well, I think the key part of that phrase is how they should prepare themselves, because while we don't know what future conflicts will look like, what future deployments will bring for us, we do know the foundation of that is a ready soldier. I like to tell my leaders that the competent, resilient soldier can accomplish anything. So that soldier who keeps himself or herself physically fit, medically fit, is proficient with their individual weapon, that will always be the cornerstone of what we do. So while I can't tell you what the operations will look like in the future, I will tell you what the requirements on the individual soldier will mean to be ready right now. Specifically, as we are becoming more and more important to our nation in domestic operations. That's a soldier who's going to be called on 3, 4 in the morning, and it's right now. It's not 30 or 45 days to get myself ready. It's a soldier who must be ready right now. So my expectation of those soldiers and what they should expect of themselves is to maintain themselves in a high state of readiness at all times. Not ready to get ready, but always in a state of readiness.
Brigadier General John C. Harris, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve.